So for Global Underground number 43, which is my double mix CD, I've been working on making an homage to the city of Rotterdam. I think the city of Rotterdam stands for kind of no-nonsense, true and pure electronic music. I think there is there's no pretending in Rotterdam. It is what it is. It's stripped to the bone, and it's very often very beautiful. It can be very raw, and it can also be very groovy at the same time. We're talking about the year 2000, which is when I moved to Rotterdam. And for me it was a bit of an intimidating city at the beginning. A city where I came to live when I was 23, just after my graduation as an interior designer. And I felt like all alone in this big city, didn't know anyone. All I was doing here was trying to continue my studies and make a lot of music. It was just me, my record collection, and some very small music equipment. From that perspective, I started exploring the city, and I found out that it's a very interesting city with a lot of raw edges. I think many people always refer to Rotterdam kind of as the Detroit of the Netherlands, which is in a way true. You know, it's a very working class city, and the people that make music are really in it for the music itself. And I think this is something that you also find a lot in Detroit techno. Because Rotterdam was the city of inspiration, my intention was to definitely give the mix a bit more of a techno edge, especially compared to previous Global Underground mixes. It's probably a lot more techno than a lot of people would expect. But on the other hand, there's a lot of beautiful melodic elements as well. Some kind of almost classic progressive sounds here and there. So it's a very wide range of music, which I think reflects my time in Rotterdam, but also Rotterdam as a city, because the city has very much changed over the last 20 years. It's much more lively. A lot of new initiatives have spawned in the city. It looks a lot more colorful. Artistically, many initiatives have been started, like the whole area around Annabelle and the square here. Basically, the reason I came to Rotterdam was because I wanted to continue my studies as an architect, which I did for about a year, and then I quit because I kind of felt like it wasn't going to be my world. It wasn't going to be my life. I was making a lot of music in my student room, which was a very small little room, and it was just me and my computer, and I think I had a Juno 106 at the time, a Roland synthesizer. I made a lot of music with just that one synthesizer, and I sent it to a couple of people. And it was picked up quite quickly, and then my first release was done by a small label called Keynote, which was distributed actually by Clone. And that record was already picked up by guys like Carl Craig, Garnier, and many other DJs. And that was the first time that I was thinking, like, you know what, I think I'm going to give this a try, and maybe it will actually work. There's a lot of tracks on the CD, on the CDs, I guess over 100. It is a mix, it's 2 CDs, so 2 mixes basically. One is a bit more focused on the softer side. And then the second CD is a bit more tough, but to be honest, like generally they're both very musically very broad. The way I did this is basically in Ableton, which is a music program. I use it for producing my tracks as well. And the way it worked is I have my Ableton open. In another window I have Tractor, which is my music DJ program. And I was just almost, I had my mix running, and at the same time, in the same BPM, I could just like drag in tracks and play them at the same time. It's almost like pre-listening tracks when you're doing a real DJ mix. And it's just, you know, like it's all random, of course. You know, you're just like, oh, you know, this could fit really well. Sometimes I play the track and I was like, maybe the track in its entirety doesn't really work, but if I just take this little loop, it really adds something special to what's already playing. So it was really almost like a puzzle to try to come to, it's like making a puzzle without knowing the final result, you know. I like to use tracks in a way that I can use them as creative sources. So I mix a lot of intros with breaks and some ambient music and maybe sometimes just a 2-bar loop, which is a more techno-driven groove or something, and it all blends in. What I also did in the meantime was actually reworking a lot of tracks that were tracks that I loved from the past or tracks that I've picked up recently. I made a lot of edits. Some tracks I really remade from scratch. And many of the tracks on the album are originals, and they came to existence by me just working with new elements, synthesizers, drum computers, while making the mix. So while making the mix, I created some of my own tracks as well. Doing a mix CD in the year 2020 is a little bit of a challenge because there's so many DJ mixes out, you know, online. Everyone's doing podcasts, streams, especially now with the Corona times. I think if you are going to make a double mix CD, you better make a count. You know, you really have to create something that will stand the test of time. That's more than just a collection of tracks. So in that sense, I've really tried to push my own envelope again to create a body of work which is hopefully still going to sound good in 10 years, even though the musical climate has changed and people's musical tastes have evolved as well. I hope still that I created something that will last.